So yesterday night, we finally saw Kyrie Irving returning after not playing for the whole season due to the Nets not allowing him to play because of the vax rule. We saw him return for the first time. It was absolutely amazing to see. He played absolutely amazing as he scored 22 points in his first game. Even though Kyrie played good, there still are many questions about him returning. And that has led me to make this video where I will be discussing whether or not the Brooklyn Nets bringing Kyrie Irving back was a smart idea or not. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help my goal of 3,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. And play that intro. Discuss some of the reasons as to why it's smart for Kyrie returning. First of all, Kyrie's just an exceptional talent, and having him on your team couldn't possibly make you worse, especially when you realize Kyrie's a top 20 player in the league, one of the hardest guys to guard. He just attracts so much attention from the defense. He just makes everyone on this team better, makes Kevin Durant's job easier, makes James Harden's life easier. He's just a hard guy to guard. And even though Kyrie is only going to be playing every other game of the season, like half the year, he's still going to help you win a lot of more games than you would if he wasn't there. Kyrie's a guy who could win basketball games all by himself because he's a guy who can go out there and score 40 points on any given night if he really wants to or needs to. Another reason this is smart is because the Brooklyn Nets have already been dealing with injuries and a lot of their players going into the COVID-19 protocol stuff, so they're going to need more guys to play. And for example, if a guy like Patty Mills, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Bembry went into the COVID protocols, or maybe even Kevin Durant or James Harden went into the protocols, they're definitely going to need a guy like Kyrie to just play and help them win. Also, if we're just being honest, the Nets haven't looked like the dominant team that they were when they had Kyrie. I'm not saying they've looked bad. To be honest, they look like the team that's most likely to make it out the Eastern Conference, but just adding him to their roster and putting him on the court puts them significantly above teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls, and Miami Heat. I'm not saying they weren't already better than those teams without Kyrie. I'm just saying it increases the margin between the two. I don't think anyone can make a huge argument to say that when the Nets have Kyrie, they're not a better team. And in the playoffs, Kyrie's going to be kind of huge for them because he's one of the best playoff performers in the league. And it's kind of tricky because he's not going to be able to play home games unless the rules change, which is pretty difficult. But overall, even if he isn't allowed to play home games, if he could play road games, that's still pretty huge because he could help you get some wins. Also, when you look at the NBA standings, the Nets aren't even the #1 seed right now. And obviously getting the #1 seed is better than having the #2 seed because it would mean they don't have to verse a team like the Bucks early. And having Kyrie on the team is obviously going to help them get more wins. So it's not like they're just way ahead like they're the #1 seed by far or anything. So they still need to win regular season games, and having Kyrie is definitely going to help that. Also, when I just looked at the game yesterday, everyone just looked very happy to see Kyrie back. I don't think any of the players really wanted to see Kyrie not allowed to play. I think it was mainly the management that decided that. But overall, I think the team chemistry has a high chance of improving with Kyrie on the court. So overall, when you just look at it, there are a lot of positives to Kyrie returning, and that is mainly for what he brings to the basketball court, as he is an exceptional player. At times he plays like a superstar, and I simply think that they're a better team with him than they are without him. But to talk about the negatives about bringing Kyrie back. Of Kyrie, first of all, we have to talk about how sometimes he is viewed as a locker room cancer. To be honest, I don't know if I fully believe that, because from what I've seen, people like to just hate on Kyrie and overreact to any little problem he has. I don't think he's going to be a locker room cancer, but there have been reports of it in the past. If I'm being honest, I think in Boston he wasn't the perfect teammate. So maybe you could argue he's going to come in, ruin the Nets' chemistry if you want to think negatively. But to be honest, I don't think that's going to happen because the Nets have been really good this season, and Kyrie just seems like a very nice guy, you know? Another thing you could maybe think about is that Kyrie's going to mess up the game plan for this team, because a big problem and a big reason the Nets decided to kick him off was because they thought it would be too hard on Steve Nash to have to coach some games with a superstar like Kyrie, then have him not play the next few games. which is kind of difficult since Kyrie is the third best player on the team and he's only going to be playing 50% of the games, which could kind of mess up with rotations and things like that. But to be honest, Steve Nash is literally an NBA level head coach. You could say he's not the greatest coach in the world or whatever, but he's still an NBA level head coach. He should be able to, like, he has a whole coaching staff and stuff. He should be able to create two different rotation schedules for like when Kyrie's playing and when he's not playing. Obviously, I'm not an NBA coach, so I don't know. Maybe it's harder than it looks. Like, it probably is hard, but he literally has a whole coaching staff. He should be able to figure that out. And we can't act like Kyrie's a guy like Russell Westbrook or something who's a terrible fit with everyone. Kyrie is a very good off-ball player, as he's an amazing shooter, good cutter, and he's not a guy who just stays in one spot. And on the ball, we all know how fantastic Kyrie is. So I think he should fit on this team perfectly. Another thing is the fact that he's only playing 50% of games. Maybe you could argue that this team will feel kind of weird because one day Kevin Durant's going to have to play against Kyrie Irving and take less shots. One day James Harden's going to play with Kyrie Irving and be more of a point guard playmaker. And then the other night Kevin Durant's going to have to be more aggressive. Other nights James Harden's going to have to be more aggressive. So maybe it could be like a problem. But to be honest, I think they'll be able to figure out they're both superstar level players. They've been in the NBA for longer than 10 years. I don't think that's going to be a huge thing. Also, when the playoffs come, a problem is that Kyrie won't be able to play home games unless the new, like the rules in New York change. But honestly, I think it's better to have Kyrie for road games than it is to not have him for road games, because Kyrie's a great player, and as I said, he makes this team better. So to be honest, there are some negatives and like risks about Kyrie coming back, but to be honest, I don't think the worst case scenarios of those risks are gonna happen. But to answer the question of whether or not Kyrie Irving returning to the Nets is a smart idea or not, in my opinion, I think it is a smart idea because of the way the Nets have been dealing with the COVID-19 things. Also, Kyrie just makes his team better, and even though they don't have him all the time, I think having him sometimes is better than like never having him, because he's just a good player. And to be honest, I think Kyrie's gonna get along with everyone on the team. So honestly, I don't think there's a huge concern unless he just comes in and kind of ruins the dynamic and flow of the team. But I don't think that's gonna happen. And maybe I could see the team struggling to fit him in because he is a huge part of this team, and him playing only every other game could be hard to adjust to. But overall, I think the Nets improve as a team adding him back. And honestly, in the first place, I don't think it was smart for them to not let Kyrie play, because him getting not vaxxed was his decision, and I don't think they should have just fully kicked him off, especially when you realize they were given the option to at least let him play road games. But regardless, I'm just happy to see Kyrie play. Definitely one of the most 5 entertaining players to watch in the NBA. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think Kyrie Irving going back to the Nets is a smart idea. Drop a like on this video, that way my channel grows. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to go over 3,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. And play that outro.